When the Varelians arrived in the Sol system, the Galactic Senate expected another routine integration. After all, Earth was primitive, loud, chaotic, violent, the kind of species the Concord had seen 1,000 times before. Typically, these fledgling civilizations were offered peace, protection, and basic interstellar technology. Then they were nudged gently into the galactic fold like awkward adolescents. So, when the humans responded to their diplomatic signal within 6.4 hours, speaking fluent galactic standard and casually inquiring if the Varelians preferred metric or imperial units, a few eyebrows, or their equivalent, were raised. Still, everything proceeded peacefully. A meeting was arranged aboard the Elixir, the flagship of the Varelian Diplomatic Corps. Gifts were exchanged. Protocols observed. And then came the request. "Would you allow us," Ambassador Kellen asked with the serene tact of a veteran negotiator, "to analyze a human genome? For academic purposes, of course. Standard procedure." The human diplomat, a cheerful man named Dr. Rahim Bhatti, smiled politely and said, "Of course. Happy to contribute." They had no idea what they were about to unleash. 2. The scan. Varelian Science Deck 7 was a pristine sanctuary of genetic marvels, a museum of life itself, with catalogued DNA from over 12,000 species. Technician Sval initiated the scan. The holographic DNA strand began to rotate in the center of the lab, its spirals glowing in pulsing blue light. AIs and bioprocessors immediately began decoding it, comparing it to known evolutionary trees, anomalies, and potential threats. Within 5 seconds, the room went silent. Sval looked up. Something's off. Dr. Helix, the lead xenogeneticist, leaned forward. Define off. Sval ran the scan again, then a third time. Each time, the AI hesitated, as if confused. Then overwhelmed, then afraid. Helix blinked his 4 eyes and turned to the control panel. Begin full spectrum breakdown. Neural links, immunological coding, latent gene potential, evolutionary history. The results came in, and with each passing second, the dread grew. Human DNA was chaos. It wasn't just diverse, it was aggressive. It had adaptive triggers encoded so deep they had redundancy on top of redundancy. Traits long extinct in galactic fauna. Traits meant for survival, not of an individual, but of a species determined to outlive extinction itself. And it got worse. Deep in the so-called junk DNA, they found patterns that weren't random at all. They were instructions, dormant protocols. Sequences that had no business being there unless someone had put them there. 3. Whispers of the Old War. Helix brought in the archives. Cross-reference the human genome with records from the first collapse, a time over 100,000 years ago, when an ancient race known only as the architects had vanished. The patterns matched. Helix's limbs trembled. These markers, they weren't mutations. Humans were modified. But by whom? Asked Sval. That's the problem, Helix replied, voice barely above a whisper. No species capable of this exists anymore. He paused. Except one. 4. Emergency Council. Within 48 hours, the Varelian High Council convened aboard the Elixir. Even the distant Ixari observers, who hadn't interfered in galactic affairs for 300 years, sent a delegate. Explain the urgency, demanded Overlord Verisk of the Thal. Helix stepped forward and activated the human genome. This is not evolution. It is design. They are not a naturally developed species. They are a failsafe. Failsafe for what? Verisk growled. For war, Helix said. Or more precisely, for reclamation. He displayed several findings. Latent aggression toggles wired into emotional memory. adrenal responses calibrated for pack strategy, a pain threshold that increased under stress, neuroplasticity with the potential to rival AI. And finally, the most damning revelation. They share over 94% DNA similarity with a class of extinct species we only know from ruins. The architects. If that lineage is accurate. He paused. Then humans are their legacy. The room fell into a stunned silence. Helix delivered the final blow. Earth isn't a random world. It's a seed vault. A last gambit by the old ones. Humanity is not a civilization. They are a weapon waiting to be triggered. 5. Earth responds. The Varelians made a fatal mistake. They tried to quarantine Earth without explaining why. Trade routes were cut. All ships in orbit vanished overnight. Human satellites went dark. And worse, the diplomatic channels were closed without a word. But humans, as the Varelians had already learned, don't sit quietly when they're insulted. Within days, Earth's best minds decoded what the aliens had tried to hide. Leaked satellite intercepts revealed fragments of alien genetic commentary, redacted files, glimpses of the word engineered. Humanity didn't panic. They investigated. And once they discovered the truth, something ancient stirred. 6. The Awakening. In labs across the world, governments and independent scientists raced to unlock the dormant sequences. They found them. A researcher in Nairobi activated a dormant immune response, rendering her body resistant to all known viruses. A soldier in Belarus survived fatal trauma and regenerated neural tissue. A test pilot in Brazil reacted faster than the aircraft's own onboard AI. And beneath it all, one chilling realization spread like wildfire. Humanity had been holding back. Not out of fear, but because they didn't know what they were. Now they did. 7. The Second Signal. Earth sent a new signal to the Varelians. This time it wasn't a greeting. It was a statement. You ran from us because you saw your own extinction written in our code. We understand now. We are not children. We are inheritance. We are contingency. The ones who made us left us here, for a reason. We choose peace, but if you make us remember what we're capable of, you will remember why the stars were once silent. 8. The Senate fractures. When the Galactic Senate received Earth's transmission, chaos erupted. The Chthari proposed immediate diplomatic reintegration. The Thal wanted orbital containment. The Varelians insisted on non-intervention and exile. But one voice, ancient and cracked with age, silenced the chamber. Elder Morital of the Ixari stood. I remember the old war, she rasped. I remember what came before the Concord. You do not isolate such beings. You do not provoke them. You honor them, or you vanish. 9. The Human Question. Back on Earth, humanity debated their next step. Some called for restraint. Others wanted vengeance. But most saw the truth clearly. They were no longer unknown. The stars feared them. And fear, once sparked, doesn't fade. So they prepared, not for conquest, but for the day when some foolish species would forget the warning. 10. Epilogue. The Child of Fire. Decades later, a child named Lien was born under Jupiter's shadow, in a research habitat orbiting Ganymede. She was part of the awakening generation, born after the genome's secrets were known. By age 6, she could speak 9 languages. By 10, she could reroute orbital trajectories in her sleep. By 12, she asked her mother one question. If they fear us for what's in our DNA, should we be afraid of ourselves? Her mother, a former geneticist from Cape Town, knelt beside her. We're the final chapter of an ancient plan and maybe, if we're wise, the first page of something better.